The fallout from J.D. Vance's epic speech at the Munich Security Council over the weekend continues. This is pretty amazing stuff, and to me, it's all serving to show just how panicked the European elite, the globalist liberal elite that run the continent, really are about Trump and the MAGA movement storming Europe. Take a look at this.
After the speech of Vice President Vance on Friday, we have to fear that our common value base is not that common anymore. I'm very grateful to all those European politicians that spoke out and reaffirmed the values and principles that they are defending. No one did this better than President Zelensky. Let me conclude, and this becomes difficult.
So that was the Munich Security Council Chairman Christopher Husgen, and he concluded the conference by basically breaking down in tears, not over what his fellow European ruling elites have done to Europe over the last decade. He wasn't crying over their open borders or their deindustrializing the continent or recasting their unique cultures and customs as racist and bigoted. No. He's crying over the United States abandoning Volodymyr Zelensky. That's why he got... You literally can't make this kind of absurdity up. And a number of commentators on X are absolutely, and in my view, quite rightly, mocking this guy mercilessly. Gad Saad commented, "The castration of the West is nearly complete. It's astounding." And that was really the overall assessment on X. Weak men create weak times. Again, we need to stress, gang, this was a Security Council meeting. That what you just saw there was at a Security Council. This wasn't a self-help group. This wasn't a hug fest or a therapy session. This was the council that largely determines Europe's security architecture. And its chairman, before the entire world openly began weeping in view of J.D. Vance reading him and all of Europe's liberal elite the Riot Act. As many of you know, J.D. Vance absolutely excoriated members of the Munich Council for their deliberate Munich Security Council, I should say, for their deliberate efforts at suppressing free speech and the populist uprisings that are taking over the whole of the continent. He pointed out that no one, literally no one in Europe voted for open borders like the ones that the elites have instituted since 2015. He brought up the recent car attack in Munich where the driver yelled Allahu Akbar and injured dozens of people. He brought up the British government charging Adam Smith Connor. How's that? Again, for an ironic name. Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran. They arrested him for standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes. That was his crime. J.D. Vance condemned and castigated the cheerleading of the Romanian court that shut down their presidential election. Many of you know the populist Călin Georgescu was on his way to winning the presidency. And so in a deliberate effort to stop him, the Romanian High Court shut down the presidential election. And every single European globalist leader applauded the move, or at the very least, they were deathly silent over it. And now even American media is trying to help the Europeans save face from such a brutal takedown. Did you see Margaret's back? Remember JD to Margaret Brennan? I don't really care, Margaret. Yeah, that Margaret, she's back. And she appears to want to fill the void of Kamala Harris's penchant for absurdity. Take a look at this.
He was standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide. And he met with the head of a political party that has far-right views and some historic ties to extreme groups.
Free speech was not used to conduct a genocide. The genocide was conducted by an authoritarian Nazi regime that happened to also be genocidal because they hated Jews and they hated minorities and they hated those that they had a list of people they hated, but primarily the Jews. There was no free speech in Nazi Germany. There was none.
Now, even fellow liberal journalists are aghast at that comment that Nazi Germany had weaponized free speech to conduct the Holocaust. I mean, it goes so far beyond the bounds of patent absurdity that the legacy media is literally just defeating itself at this point. I mean, whatever semblance of credibility that they have, they're just destroying literally by the second. Now, I really don't care. Margaret mentioned J.D. Vance meeting with the head of the AfD, the Alternative for Deutschland, Alice Weidel. Again, this is absolutely huge because the German globalist elite have been doing everything they possibly can over the last decade to marginalize the AfD, which is basically, if you don't know, this is Germany's MAGA party. This is their Trump party. And Elon Musk has been a very vocal supporter of the AfD of late. He's tweeted out on numerous occasions that only the AfD can save Germany, which is true. Well, they have their national elections just days from now. We're going to actually have Konstantin von Hofmeister of Arctos Publishing on later this week to talk about the upcoming elections. But it looks like the AfD is going to come close to doubling their support for when they first entered Parliament back in 2017. That was Angela Merkel's last election. It was the first time that the AfD had broken into national politics. Up to that point, they were really more just a local party, particularly in Eastern Germany. But they got about 13% of the vote back in 2017, making them the third largest party in Germany. So not a bad debut for national politics in the Bundestag. But now it looks like they're coming close to nearly doubling their support. They're consistently clocking in all the polls at just over 20%. So as you can see, all the efforts to marginalize the AfD have backfired. And now we've got another development that's come out that I think really explains why these European globalist elites are crying. This is going to absolutely blow you away. But first, I do have to ask you again, what do you think you could do if you had the same insider trading information that Nancy Pelosi has, right? You know what I'm talking about, right? Politicians like Pelosi have access to insider trading secrets for decades now. They know exactly what stocks to buy and when to buy them. But guess what? You and I actually have access to that very same inside information. Thanks to a little-known SEC database, we can see what and when corporate CEOs are buying up in real time, and then we get to piggyback on their trades to gain the same advantage for ourselves. So, gang, this is why you have got to click on the link below and sign up for a free training with me and my good friend Ross Givens. It's this Thursday, February 20th at 3 p.m. Eastern. Ross is an insider trading expert whose recommendations have led to investment returns of over 200%. Some have hit as high as nearly 1,500%. It's going to be an amazing free training where you and I can learn how to trade with the exact same insider knowledge as these politicians, but we do it legally and ethically. But don't wait. Seating registration is limited to the first 1,000 who sign up. So click on that link below right now and register today, and I'll see you for an online event that promises to change your life. It's now been confirmed that Secretary of State Marco Rubio is in Saudi Arabia for high-stakes talks with Russian officials aimed at ending the Ukraine war. Rubio is being joined by National Security Advisor Mike Waltz and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, and they'll be meeting with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and Kremlin advisor Yuri Ashakov. Now, astonishingly and most glaringly, European officials, these globalist elites, have been completely left out of the talks. Same with Zelensky, by the way. He'll purportedly be visiting the Gulf region, but he will not be part of these negotiations. Now, of course, he hasn't taken too kindly to that, as you can imagine. But then again, what's he going to do? He literally has no political or military leverage whatsoever, apart from the United States. In addition, we're getting word that Emmanuel Macron, French President Emmanuel Macron, is calling for an emergency meeting among EU leaders in Paris after learning about Trump's plan to hash out a peace deal, all the while completely snubbing them. And there's word that the UK may be sending British troops to Ukraine. That has not yet been confirmed, nor do we know exactly what role there would be, if any, for those troops being sent to Ukraine. Regardless, this whole series of events since Valentine's Day confirms that Europe's globalist elite are indeed being left behind in a rising civilizationalist world. If you don't know what I mean, since the end of World War II, Western Europe, in particular, has been really nothing more than a vassal of the United States. Upwards of 100,000 U.S. forces occupy Germany, Italy, Spain, the UK. And after the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991, those very same American forces took over security for the continent as a whole. What that means, practically speaking, is that in virtually all matters of geopolitics, Europe's role has been completely dictated by the United States. The United States has been the head of the liberal international order, and Europe has more or less been a lapdog for the United States in that international order. I think most people who recognize what's really been going on since 1945 would agree. But in literally a blink of an eye, all of that's changed, and it's changing dramatically. Last Friday, Valentine's Day, the new Trump administration came to Europe, came to Munich, and said, by way of its vice president, in no uncertain terms, that it was time for Europe to step up and embrace the moment, particularly the new populist moment, and take its place in this rising civilizationalist world. Now, here's how our good friend Konstantin von Hofmeister put it, writing in Germany. This is how he put it in his Substack. Quote, "In Munich, a new alignment is spoken into existence. The Americans, with their raw candor, are pushing a simple truth. The days of consensus are over. Vance does not plead, nor does he posture. He demands. He demands that Europe wake up, that she take her own side in the battle for her soul, that she reject the death spiral of mass immigration and the imposed morality of an exhausted liberalism. He says to Germany, stop fearing your own people. Stop treating them like dangerous children to be controlled and silenced. Listen to them. Work with them. This is not a conference. This is not a debate. This is the moment when the mask slips and the battle lines are drawn. Vance, the hammer of the new era, makes it clear. America is no longer the enforcer of European delusions. The order of the past is crumbling, and in its place, something harder, something truer, something real is emerging." Brilliantly said. That is what this moment really means. A new era is rising, a new world architecture where nation, culture, custom, and tradition are all ascending as over and against the meaningless platitudes and dying aspirations of failed liberalism. This civilizationalist world is rising regardless of whether Europe's globalist elite take an active role in it or not. That is what J.D. Vance's address really said. And that is why Europe's globalist elite, they're dying, dissipating globalist elite are really crying over. By the way, click on the link in the description below to get all these articles and tweets I reference throughout my videos emailed to you each and every day. You're going to love it. We want you to have the best resources out there to convince your family and your friends of this new MAGA super age that's rising here. Hey there, Dr. Steve here, and I got a question for you. What if you could go back in time and get in on the Bitcoin era when it was still just under $1? Or buy a prime real estate before the market exploded, say in Manhattan? Or invest in a company like Tesla before the whole world caught on? Well, that's exactly where we are right now. The parallel economy is exploding like never before. New financial opportunities are opening up, and those who see the shift and take action early are the ones who will prosper the most. That's why I'm hosting a live 90-minute event on February 27th called the America's Golden Age Summit. Now, I'll be joined by some amazing expert guests who are going to show you how to position yourself for massive success in this new era. But even better, what exactly to do in this new era. It's a truly one-of-a-kind, game-changing event. Click the link, grab your spot, and be a part of America's Golden Age Summit. Do not miss this chance to get ahead. I can't wait to see you there.